This is Derek Durazio, North Carolina Emergency Management, or NCEM. We are here demonstrating the FY25 Homeland Security Grant Program application, FY25 HSGP application in our new Salesforce Grants Management portal. I'm here with my friend Lisa Patton, who will be walking us through the demonstration in a minute. But before we do that, I want to show you all how to access the new Salesforce Grants Management portal so you can apply for FY25 HSGP. If you simply go to Google, okay. If you simply go to Google and type in NCEM Salesforce, okay, it will be the first or second choice on the screen once you do that. In this case, it's the first choice for me. And you will get a login screen. It looks like this. You will enter your username and password here and click login. And you'll be taken to the home screen, which will look like this, okay? If you do not have access to Salesforce and you're a new user, you would click here and fill out a registration form. Each organization, it's called an account in Salesforce, can have up to 5 contacts associated with that organization. So you can register to represent your organization or register a new organization using the new user click here tab. If you have trouble with your password, you can click there, or you can send us an email at ncemsalesforce.gov, and we will assist you with a password reset. Okay, but let's assume you're able to log on to the Salesforce portal. Okay, it will look something like this when you log on. This is a shared portal between preparedness grants and hazard mitigation grants. So in this case, we've created a fictitious account for a county called Z Alpha Test in North Carolina. We're a fictitious county, and we're going to go ahead and apply for FY25 HSGP. You could potentially see both hazard mitigation grants and preparedness grants here. In this case, we're going to look for FY25 HSGP. If you click on available grants, you will see it right here, selection number 4. And from here, my friend Lisa Patton will take it over. Lisa, please take over.
Thank you, Derek. Give me just a moment to share my screen, please. And you should see the screen share now at the grant portal, available grants. So we just click that available grants button and we search for the grant that we're applying for, which today is the FY25 Homeland Security Grant Program, also known as HSGP. Once you click on that screen, it automatically pulls in the notice of funding, which gives you key information such as the name of the grant, the Homeland Security HSGP. It lets you know that you're eligible to apply. It reminds you again of which fiscal year you're applying for, in this case 2025. It gives you the grant period of performance start date, 9/1/2025, and the grantee pop end date, which is 2/28/28. This sub-application due date is an item you need to pay attention to. These applications for the Homeland Security Grant are due by January 31st, 2025. You'll see some other information here that will, become more available as we move along. But what we want to do next is take the step to actually apply for this grant. So you're going to click the apply button in the upper right-hand corner. And then you'll see an open window ready to apply. Select next screen, which we do here. Again, this window will open up to pull in your applicant information. So you may want to take a moment to make sure it's accurate. Here we have a fictitious Z Alpha Test County. And then you'll just want to make sure your address is correct, that you're SAM registered with the SAM expiration date, the UEID, and your tax ID. So you'll just want to look those over, make sure it's correct before you move forward. So here we have to at least select the primary POC in order to apply. And today I'm applying as Derek Durazio. We won't select a secondary POC for this demonstration. So I'm moving save and next. Again, this window opens up and shows that you are applying under Derek's name. So that is the POC information we saw on the previous screen where we did not select a secondary POC. You may choose to do so, but here for this purpose, we are not selecting. So on the screen, we save and next. So here we put in our project title. And for this title, I am going to put prime mover. For an abstract, you'll want to be more thorough and give a more robust description. But for purposes of this demonstration, I'm just going to continue on using the term prime mover. Your terrorism to nexus, or your nexus to terrorism, must be included in this. So you'll want to describe the gap in service, possibly why you need this prime mover, and how that actually ties into a terrorism nexus. So for a short demonstration, prime mover needed to respond to terrorist related event. Just not really a great description, but for purposes of this demonstration, we're going to keep it short and concise. The gap addressed, for this, you'll want to address your local THIRA, see where those gaps are, see where you can improve those gaps by bringing on more equipment or resources to address that gap and close that gap. So you'll want a brief description for this as well. So I'm just going to put in here our local THIRA, which is a threat and hazard identification. Our local THIRA shows gaps in service in coordinated transportation. So you can't exactly respond to an event if you don't have a transportation resource to get there. So that therefore is closing the gap. You can be obviously more descriptive in the gap addressed. Try to make it as robust as you would your abstract and your nexus to terrorism. Capabilities building. Let's say you are building this capability. You don't have a prime mover at this time, so you are building this capability. But let's say you had an older model prime mover and you need a second, then this would be considered sustaining that capability. But for purposes of today's demonstration, we're selecting build. Supports the Fusion Center. No, it does not. Deployable? Yes, we can take that prime mover anywhere. Shareable? Yes, we can go from county to county and share that resource if there is a regional event, disaster, natural disaster, or even a terrorism related event. We can share that resource with other counties. It's obviously deployable and a shareable asset. LETP allowable. You can open the iBox here to understand that the LETP stands for Law Enforcement Terrorism Prevention. You'll want to use this if your resource or if your application is being sponsored by a local police department, sheriff's office, or another agency that will also be utilizing this resource for law enforcement terrorism prevention activities. So in this case, we're going to say no because it's just let's say it's a fire department sponsoring this prime mover. I know it's a fictitious Z Alpha Test County, but let's just say it's a fire department. So we're going to say, no, this is not law enforcement related. Scroll on down the screen. You'll see supports a previously awarded project. Well, we just discussed that. We have an older prime mover, but let's say that prime mover was bought with that county funds and not Homeland Security funds. So this is not part of a previously awarded project. So here we're going to say no. Again, we're building the project, so it's not part of a previous sustainable project. Project requires an environmental planning and historical preservation, EHP assessment. So what this project entails, what this piece of the application entails, if you do require an EHP, that comes into play if you are doing any type of construction activity, which is building a building, doing an add-on, running wires or conduit through a wall. If you hammer a nail or screw a screw or even move 1 tablespoon of dirt, that is considered construction. So you have to be very mindful of what activities you're actually doing. So we that would require an EHP. Now, there are some minor modifications that can be done. If you're replacing a camera that already has a mount and you're using the same mount and just replacing a camera, that would not require an EHP, but it still should be reviewed with your planners to determine if that is a possibility. EHPs have to go before FEMA for approval before a project can start. So you absolutely want to make sure that you're not missing an opportunity to fill out this information if it is needed to get those approvals. So we know a prime mover, we're not building that. It's not construction related. So for this EHP piece, we're going to say no. And that's the last of these fields. So we're going to save and next. This part of the application asks about primary capability. So we should see a list of items here that you can choose from for your project. But since this is a prime mover, we are selecting critical transportation. That is our primary core capability. There should be a list of 32 core capabilities, and these 32 core capabilities are set by FEMA. So we cannot add or take away from this list. So if you have trouble finding what this core capability is, let us know and we can work with you to identify that. How is the primary capability supported? Prime mover transportation. You can be pretty clear and concise here. Secondary capability. Again, it's going to be these same 32 core capabilities to choose from. We've already selected critical transportation. Now we need a secondary capability. So if we look down through here, we should see a couple of items that gives us an option to select from. And we're going to select operational coordination because if there's an event, you're going to coordinate with others to be on a scene or an event, and you're going to get there by that prime mover. Or you may have to move resources with that prime mover. For the secondary capability, we're going to choose operational coordination. How is this supported? Again, prime mover, transportation of resources. Okay, your next question is national priority area. Every year, FEMA and DHS put out what their national priorities are, and this is based on a previous notice of funding, and we will change this once the FY25 notice of funding is released if these national priorities have changed in any way. So transportation and the prime mover could actually be enhancing community preparedness and resilience. So we could put it here, but for purposes of this demonstration, we're just going to select none at this time.
Hey, Lisa, I'm sorry.
Yes.
That's a required
Yes.
field. The red asterisk, you must select the national priority areas, and it will just be based on whatever information is there, select an NPA, and we'll move forward with that. And where there's a red asterisk, it's a required field.
Okay. So for this one, I'll just put community preparedness and resilience. Thanks for that, Derek. Appreciate that. So we've made our selection, and now we're going to move forward to our milestone target completion dates. I do want to mention before we put in these dates, when you add your dates to complete these milestones, you are not held to make those dates or complete these items on these dates. These milestone dates are set as a goal to try to complete by that date. But for purposes of this demonstration, we know that this FY25 MOA will be released somewhere in April or March or April of 2025, possibly. And so therefore, we know that by the time FEMA actually approves our projects, we'll be able to move forward to sign the Memorandum of Agreement, the MOA. Let's say July 1. I will just throw a date in there. We should be able to implement the project, let's say by 2025. If we sign the MOA in July, we should be able to begin the project by October 2025. Now, again, these are just fictitious dates, goals that we're setting for ourselves to try to obtain. We'll submit our final reimbursement. So we have, Derek, I believe the grantee pop-in date is 2/28/2028. So therefore, we're going to shoot the year out here to do our final reimbursement by October 1, 2027. And therefore, we will do our final reimbursement around that date ahead of the end of period of performance. And then we'll do a potential project closeout by the end of the period of performance, which again is 2/28/2028. So I'm going to go ahead and put that date in here. And we'll save and next. So this portion of the application is creating your budget. And we have specific budget lines down here. For domestic preparedness regions, a local application total for the domestic preparedness region is $170,000. I see we're missing a zero here, but we'll get that corrected in our application. We'll get that updated. But the purpose of this screen is to select a category for the budget line. Okay, so we know that a prime mover is actually considered equipment. And these categories that you see here are what we call POETI category. So we'll align these so that the drop-down actually coordinates with the POETI acronym. But for purposes of this application, we're going to select equipment. What is that equipment description? Prime mover. And if you want to get specific and say Ford, F-250 or whatever, that's fine too. But if you keep it generic and you change your mind on which vehicle you want, you always have the option just to leave it a generic prime mover. Let's say this cost is $60,000. And AEL, this is not the AEL for prime mover, but I'm going to put it in there anyway, just for purposes. So what is this AEL? Well, if you look at this iBox, you'll see that it is the FEMA authorized equipment list. And this link will take you to that website. It's fairly easy to look up items. You just put in keywords to find the items you're looking for. And then it will therefore provide you with an AEL number. And Derek, I don't know if you have time, if you'd like to pull up that website, we could just give a short preview of that, or we can come back to that at a later time.
Just go ahead and move on, Lisa. We'll come back to that.
Sure. Save and next. So would you like to create an additional budget line? Well, we know we're not purchasing anything else today. We're only purchasing that prime mover or applying to purchase a prime mover. So no, we do not want to create another budget line. Then it opens that budget line window to give you an opportunity to look at what you created, that you're buying equipment at $60,000. and that's correct. So there's no need to create a new budget line, edit the current budget line, or delete the budget line. So we'll go ahead and finish with the budget. Please add any additional information you want us to know. We always like to support our request, so we're just going to just put in a really quick, we really need this prime mover. And you can be more descriptive in here about the current status of the prime mover you have now, or however you want to add whatever additional information you want to add to support your request. Save and next. This gives you an opportunity to upload files, and for purposes of a different folder, let me see if I have anything on file that I can upload here. Give me one moment. Just 1 second. Let me just look for something to upload. Okay, I found something here, so just give me a moment to upload. So I'm just going to upload a dipper map. And what is a dipper map? That is the Domestic Preparedness Regions map. So I'm going to say done. And this brings us to the final portion of the application, which is the certification page. And I have this application includes complete and accurate information, and you'll just move through these certifications to agree to each of these certifications in order to be able to complete your application and move forward. Any project having the potential to impact the environmental, historic, or cultural resources must submit an EHP. We described that earlier in the application. Projects with funds allocated for emergency communications must meet the SAFECOM guidance recommendations. We provide a link here to ensure if you're applying for that you are able to review that and ensure that you are in compliance. So we say yes there. This is a nationwide cybersecurity review compliant and annual survey participation. This project is nationwide cybersecurity review compliant and annual survey participation requirement. Part of accepting this award, if you are awarded, does require you to complete a nationwide cybersecurity review. It's done between the months of October 1 and February 28th. And so you have a good amount of time to complete that, and it takes about 30 minutes to do so. And when you're provided with an award, you're also provided with information on how to register and conduct that survey. For certification number 5, projects with funds allocated towards equipment are required to check all equipment against the FEMA allowable equipment list, which we discussed earlier. So we're going to say yes. Certification number 6, any changes made to this application after the submission deadline will not be accepted. Yes. Applicant is a local government entity under the North Carolina law or North Carolina state government agency. Yes. Submissions of the project proposal does not guarantee funding. Yes. And the final certification, and possibly the most important, any person who knowingly makes a false claim or statement in connection with this application may be subject to civil or criminal penalties. I will not cover the specific statutes, but I will move forward, say yes, save, and next. This is confirmation that your application has been submitted, and you should receive a submission confirmation email shortly. And that finishes our application. And let's go back to a printable view. I believe that is part of the application completion. Just want to make sure I'm not in just a
Yeah,
notice of
hey,
funding.
hey, Lisa, yeah, go back to your Salesforce,
Mm-hmm.
okay, and then click applications.
Yes, there we go. Thank you. I appreciate that, Derek. Got a little sidetrack there. So here we can see our application number 728 for Z Alpha Test is the prime mover. I click on that application, and this will show the application information, point of contact. It shows that we've applied for a prime mover. It lists the core capabilities, that project timeline for the milestones, your budget summary, which you can quickly get to here. If you needed to update or make any changes, you are allowed to do so. We have these buttons up top where you can update this application, withdraw the application, and you also have a printable view of the application, which is here. So you can print from here or from this screen with the application information, you can just do Control P and it will pull it up in this format. So at this time, I'm going to stop sharing my screen and turn it back over to you, Derek.
Thanks, Lisa. Great job with the presentation. I'll just hit a couple more points for y'all. So Lisa raised the question about the AEL, the FEMA AEL earlier. So if you just go to Google and Google FEMA AEL, it'll take you to the first one here for the website for AEL. And then they've really did a good job of making this user friendly. It used to be a little harder to search things, but here's the FEMA website. Just in this case, click advanced search. All right. And then from here, since we bought a prime mover, we're just going to search for vehicle. Okay. And then FEMA related grant program, this was HSGP. So we'll select that from this drop down list here. All right. And then you're going to hit apply. All right. Then you'll see different potential choices for your AEL. But if we go right here, 12TR00 mover, prime mover right here. So that would be your AEL you would insert into your budget, in this case, associated with a prime mover for the equipment as you do the application in Salesforce. Okay. And I believe that is all I wanted to cover today. Lisa did a great job with everything else. I thank you for your time. And if you have any questions at all, you can always reach out to us at the Grants Management, Preparedness Grants Management Branch at NCM, and we'll help you with your application for FY25 HSGP. Thank you. Goodbye. I'm going to stop the recording now.